Hello, everyone. Welcome to our advanced class. We're glad you joined us today, and I'm sure we have some Kevin Costner fans out there, because that's who we're going to be talking about for the next few days. I'm your teacher, Ruth. I'm back from the United States, and it's good to be in class today. And we have Michael with us, too. How are you, Michael?
Good. Hi, Ruth.
And are you a Kevin Costner fan?
I like a couple of his movies, but I wouldn't call myself a fan.
Okay. What about you, Phoebe? Are you a Kevin Costner fan?
I think he's all right, but I wouldn't really say I was a big, huge fan of his.
Well, maybe after we finish this article, you'll be a bigger fan.
Maybe. We'll see.
And Yvonne?
Hello.
How many Kevin Costner movies have you seen?
I think it's only one, or maximum two.
One or two. Well, I'm sure there's some people out there who have seen most of his movies, maybe some people who have seen all of his movies. But I've seen probably, 6 or 7 of them. And some of them I liked and some of them I didn't. But we're going to talk about the man today and about his life and his feelings and his philosophy of life. So I think you'll enjoy this article. We'll learn a lot of good words and phrases. So if you haven't yet, please open your magazines to page 41, and let's take a look at Kevin Costner. Read with us.
Kevin Costner is batting around an idea. How would I sum up my philosophy on life? He ponders aloud. Sometimes you score, sometimes you strike out, but what matters is how you play the game. Baseball metaphors come easily to the 44-year-old actor, director, and producer. Maybe it's because I've had a lot of practice rounding bases, he says, referring to his 3 baseball films, Bull Durham, 1988, Field of Dreams, 1989, and last year's For Love of the Game. Playful and modest as he seems, Costner has clearly become one of Hollywood's heavy hitters. Dances with Wolves, his directorial debut in 1990, won 7 Oscars, and last year's sentimental Message in a Bottle was #1 its opening weekend.
All right, we start off with Kevin Costner batting around an idea. This is something that you would do when you're in a meeting, when you're in a group of friends, when you're discussing something. What does it mean to bat around an idea?
Just to talk about an idea or discuss an idea.
Does it give you the idea of kind of a lively discussion?
Yeah,
A
it's
lot of
maybe
back and forth?
more playful or more energetic.
Okay, so it means discussing, maybe getting many people's points of view on a subject. And what is the idea he's batting around, Phoebe?
Well, he's batting around this idea of how he would sum up or how he would summarize his philosophy on life.
Sum up, of course, comes from math, when you want to add a group of numbers together to come up with a total. So he's trying to figure out a very succinct, specific way to describe his philosophy or his ideas about how to live life. And this is something he's pondering, which means what, Michael?
It means to think about, maybe in a very deep or thoughtful way.
Okay, it's on a deeper level than think. It's something you're really deeply considering or very thoughtfully and slowly considering. And what is his philosophy of life?
Well, it's not really important whether you score or you strike out, but it's how you play the game.
All right, sometimes you score, which means what?
Sometimes you do something well, as he's making a comparison right now to some kind of sports game, right? So sometimes you do well, you make a point.
Okay, you score, you succeed, you make a point, something goes well for you. And sometimes you strike out.
I mean, sometimes you fail. Sometimes things don't go well for you.
And you have no experience with that, right?
That's right, that's right. Everything is...
Okay, so sometimes, or we could say this another way, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's that same idea. But are those the things that really matter, winning and losing?
No, it isn't. It's how you play the game that really matters. It's what you do with your life, or how you treat these instances where you get a chance to win or lose. It doesn't matter what's happening in the end. It's how you deal with things.
Okay, so maybe he's saying that it's not the end result, it's the process of getting to that end result, how you play the game. And these are actually metaphors, baseball metaphors.
Yeah, we use quite a lot of metaphors in the English language, don't we, Ruth?
Comparing two things. Sometimes it's easier to describe how you feel or describe an idea when you can give a picture or an example, like Kevin Costner is doing here. Instead of saying, the end result doesn't matter, it's the process. That's kind of dull. It sounds much better to say, sometimes you score, sometimes you strike out. That's not important. It's how you play the game. What other baseball metaphors do we use?
Well, we use the word pitch a lot. To pitch an idea or to pitch a product, and that just means to throw it out or present that idea.
Another one we use is right off the bat. So if somebody asks you a question and you answer it right off the bat, it means you answer it right away.
Immediately.
Another one would be on the ball. It means you're doing something really well or very correctly.
That's right. So there's all kinds of different metaphors we can use from baseball or from a lot of other daily activities. And those are good ways to describe our feelings or our thoughts. And baseball metaphors come easily to Kevin Costner, this 44-year-old actor, director, and producer. Why do they come easily to him?
Well, it says he's had a lot of practice rounding bases.
Which means?
Which means that he's played a lot of baseball.
And as we'll learn, he's made 3 movies about baseball. And I think he really does enjoy baseball when he's not acting, too. So he's played it a lot. And he's probably in his private life as well in his films, because he's referring to or talking about his 3 baseball movies.
His 3 films are Bull Durham, which was in 1988, Field of Dreams in 1989, and most recently For Love of the Game,
which was last year, 1999. Did you see any of those movies, Michael?
I saw Field of Dreams.
And did you like it?
It was pretty good. A little bit cheesy. it was good.
When you say a little bit cheesy, what does that mean?
That means overly emotional, maybe.
Good way to describe it. If something is cheesy, you're thinking, well, there's a little bit too much emotion and it becomes unreal, almost. And all 3 of these, he played a character that has some kind of internal conflict. In Bull Durham, he played a catcher that was getting older, and he was mentoring a younger pitcher played by Tim Robbins, and there was the relationship between them. In Field of Dreams, he was a down-on-his-luck farmer who decided that he wanted to live out his dreams. So he built a baseball field in his cornfield, hoping that the local legend baseball player would come and play on his field. And then Field of Dreams, he played an aging pitcher who hoped to pitch a perfect game. So if you like baseball, they're quite good films. I'm sure some of our listeners have seen them, maybe all 3 of them. Yvonne, do you have anything to tell us?
我们要回到前面第2行，看看这几个字或者是句子。To bat around an idea 就是讨论一个话题的意思。然后到下面第4行 to sum up 就是简夸或者是做一个摘要。第5行 to ponder 就是思索，很用力的在思考。第7行 strike out 这个就是我们刚刚讲到一个 baseball 的 metaphor， 它这个挥棒落空的意思就是你失败了。那我们就看这个字 metaphor 在第10行就是一个隐喻啊。然后我们看到最后面14行 to run bases 就是跑垒的意思。
Okay, and they use 2 adjectives to describe Costner. What 2 are those?
Playful and modest.
When someone is playful, what does that give you the idea
They're
of?
very serious, right, Ruth?
Oh, absolutely. Well, when you think of the word play, what does that mean?
It means to have a good time.
To have a good time. He enjoys laughing, making jokes, enjoying other people's company. And modest?
Well, to be modest means he's humble. He's not all stuck on what a great big star he is.
He's more like a regular guy. And those are the 2 ways that he seems, I guess, when you meet him. But is he a big star?
Yes, he's one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, really.
Okay, and here's another baseball metaphor. He's a heavy hitter. Which means?
Which means just that he's a really big star.
He's a big star. And in baseball, a heavy hitter is someone you can depend on to hit a lot of balls that will allow people to score or make runs. So a heavy hitter is someone who's very popular and very good at what they do. And then he mentions probably his best-known movie.
It's Dances with Wolves, and he directed it and starred in it, and it won several awards, in fact, 7 Oscars.
Was this the first movie that he directed?
Yes, it was. It says here that it was his directorial debut.
And a debut is the first time you do something.
That's right.
So maybe there were people who had worse times as children than him. So he doesn't blame his problems in his adult life on his childhood like some people do. He's satisfied with the way he grew up. Now, he wasn't very tall when he was in school, was he?
No, he was only 5'2".
So that's about 157 centimeters, it says here, which is kind of short for a guy. Usually people like to think of guys as being very tall, and he was one of the shortest ones. But did he let that stop him from being a success?
No, not at all. It says that he was very athletic, and that, as a matter of fact, he was a star in basketball, baseball, and football.
Wow. So he didn't let his size stand in his way. He didn't let that stop him from doing what he wanted to do, which I think is a very good quality to have. Sometimes I think people make excuses when they don't succeed, and they want to put the blame on someone else. Oh, well, I'm too small. I can't do anything. And, if you let that defeat you, you never will realize your potential.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to see that Kevin did that.
It's really amazing, too, when you think about someone who's 5'2" being a basketball star.
Mhm.
Usually you think basketball stars are at least 6 feet tall.
And also, if someone is 5'2", you wouldn't think of them, being very husky or
Mhm.
big to be a football star. Maybe he played quarterback or something. But then he was so short, how could he see over the players to be able to throw the ball? But again, I think it's good to see that he didn't let his size stand in his way. And I think we can learn a lesson from that. Don't make excuses. Just go through the troubles and try to succeed. It's a good thing to remember. Yvonne?
好，我们要回来看几个字啊，要回到第一个 column 23行，我们再次看到另外一个 metaphor， 这边讲到这个 heavy hitters， 在这个棒球里面就是指这个强打手，那这边呢，这边就是指到这种重量级的明星，非常有名的。那24行debut 就是首演的意思啊。26行 sentimental 就是非常富有感情或者是有点伤感的。到下面31行 to snicker 就是暗笑或者是窃笑的意思。32行 all wet 就是大错特错。到下面41行 upheaval 就是很大的变动。
Okay. So there's a lot of words. You can talk about upheaval. Sometimes there's upheaval in your company. Maybe the CEO quits. That would cause a lot of upheaval or a lot of change, a lot of problems. So look through this article and choose some of the words that you think would be useful for you, and then try to use them. Well, now I'm going to ask you some questions and see if you remember a few things about our lesson. Phoebe, what kind of metaphors does Kevin Costner like to use to describe his philosophy of life?
Well, he likes to use baseball metaphors because he has a lot of experience with baseball in his movies and in his own life.
So it's easy for him to use those ideas then to express himself. Okay. And what 2 adjectives describe Kevin Costner? How does he seem to be?
He seems playful and modest. Playful just means like to have fun, and modest just means you don't brag a lot.
Okay. What 2 adjectives would you use to describe yourself? Would you use those 2? This is called putting someone on the spot.
Exactly. Well, I would use modest. Matter of fact, I'm the most modest person. No, just kidding. And maybe playful too.
Okay, good.
Wow, Kevin Costner in our midst.
Wow, can I have your autograph? Okay, Phoebe, what can you tell us about Kevin Costner's childhood? How would you describe it?
Well, he had a lot of upheaval in his childhood because his father had to move his family around a lot when he moved to different jobs. But it was also a happy childhood.
Right, so he doesn't regret anything in his background. I think that's an important way to look at your life, too, is to know where you came from, but not use it as an excuse for failures in the rest of your life. So we can learn several things about his philosophy of life from this article that he doesn't give